Hi everyone. Let's see if I can make this full screen for myself. Great. Welcome everybody. Woo, it's a sunny morning here. The sun's shining in. As you probably know, I'm Nicole Morey, and I help entrepreneurial women prioritize themselves and their wellness needs without losing traction in their businesses. And so today is really the first live where I'm going to get into some how-tos. So I'm excited to talk to you about how the power of 3 helps you to focus on what you actually want. So if you're here, I would love for you to comment, say hello. If you're listening on the replay, I welcome you to comment too. Ask any questions as we go, and we'll dive right in. If you're a real keener and you want to walk away with a bit of a plan on some paper, you might want to grab a pen and paper. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about this whole prioritizing thing. I thought this was a natural topic to start with, since that's my work. I help women prioritize themselves. And actually, these practices came up several times this week in a workshop I gave, in talking with clients, and then I was doing really belated business planning for myself. And so I thought, well, maybe it's timely and maybe you might want to learn more right now too. So here we are. And what I want to start out by saying is there's sort of a spectrum of prioritizing. I realize that. So on one end of the spectrum, maybe you're totally exhausted and your schedule is busting full of activities. So naturally, you probably want to learn how to prioritize. And then on the other end, you might be really great at prioritizing, and perhaps you're looking for some tips to do even more of what you love doing. So hopefully this will support you with any of those priorities. And I like to talk about priority management rather than time management, because that's what I feel time management is all about. It's prioritizing our energy, prioritizing our focus so that we can actually do the things that we want to do. Now, if you happen to be commenting, I have no idea where to look for that, so I'll have to reply to any comments after the live. I want to begin then. We have our piece of paper, and what we're going to be talking about today is why 3 is so powerful, and then we're going to move through 3 different points, and hopefully you'll take away a one-pager with your top priorities for the winter. So I have always used the number 3. It seemed just the perfect number for me to feel manageable and to actually achieve what I wanted to go for. Any more than that, I'd forget, or it would be too complicated. And it turns out the science says that too, that when you do things in 3s, it's simpler, it's more appealing, you stay more motivated, you can actually remember those things. It forces you to prioritize into just 3 things. And then of course you're more successful because of that. So we're going to start looking at just our winter plan. I like to plan by the seasons, but particularly in years like this when we're uncertain about what the future holds on account of the pandemic. 90 plus days is the perfect amount of planning, I find. Perfect amount of time to look ahead and plan for. And what we're talking about prioritizing here are plans that are just for you. And so you're probably listening because you're really excellent at getting to everybody else's needs and doing all of the things for everybody else in your work and your personal life. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to remember yourself and your own needs and ensure that those are in the plan right from the beginning. And again, that increases your chances of being successful. So there's so much more to what I'm going to share today. I can tell it's going to be tricky for me to keep these lives short because I have so much valuable information that I want to share with you. But I'll do my best to keep it brief. And so if you have that piece of paper, you might want to fold it in 3s, the long way and the wide way, so that it's like a grid of 9. But if you don't want to do that, no worries, you don't need to. So the first threes that I want to talk about are 3 focus areas. So again, I've already explained how it's much simpler to keep track of 3 things than more. So I always have one of those 3 things as myself and wellness. And that's because I know if it's not right up there as a first priority, it may end up on the bottom of the list, the number 1 thing to get neglected. So one of my categories or focus areas is myself, meaning me and my wellness. My second area is my business, which is my professional life. And then my third area I just call life, which means my personal life. And so those are what my 3 areas are. I encourage you to keep the self, the wellness category, but think of 2 other areas that kind of encapsulate your life. So whether that's, chances are it's business, but it could be community service. It could be working at home in whatever capacity that looks like for you. And then again, with the personal life, just label that whatever suits you. But keep it to 3, and you write those in the center, the top of the center 3 columns. Great. So now, what are we going to do about that? We kind of have to figure out, well, what are we wanting to prioritize this winter or summer if you're listening in the South? And so I have 3 prioritizing questions that I like to share with you. I use these all the time for all kinds of things because they really work. And I find that they bypass my overthinking brain to get into my heart and see what's going on inside of myself. So what I would love for you, for each of these 3 areas, you now have room above them to jot down notes to these 3 questions that I'm going to ask. So I recommend just doing one at a time. So together we'll walk through these questions about yourself, your wellness, and then after the call you can do it for the other 2, business and life. So the first question is, okay, you're thinking of yourself in this current season, you're thinking of yourself and your wellness. And I want you to ask yourself, what do you notice about yourself and your wellness this winter? In general, what are you noticing? So this could be the good, the bad, or the ugly. What are you currently noticing about what's going on for you and your wellness? Now, of course, there's room to get more detailed, and tune into the different parts of self and so on. But we're just keeping it simple today. Okay, and so the next question is, having kind of like gotten yourself into that space of what's going on for you, the next one is, what do you need to address some of those areas that you are noticing about your wellness? So if your wellness was a messenger, or if winter had something to tell you about what this season is to be about regarding your wellness, what would it say that you need the most? And then number 3, you may have to pause it there. Number 3 is, having had those insights, what do these mean for you? What is this telling you about how to respond to your self and wellness needs in this season? So just to recap, the questions are around, what do you notice? What do you need? Which is sort of that underlying emotional needs that you're having this season. And then what does that tell you about how to nurture those needs? So again, repeat for the 3 areas of your life. And this is trying to support you in doing that deeper work of identifying not what you think you need or how you habitually respond to achieving your priorities, but what you yourself truly need. Okay, so what you have to do next is to look back at your insights from the 3 areas and choose your one priority focus area for each category. So this winter, for instance, I've done this myself previously, and so I know that my self focus is going to be my body health. My business focus is around my winter clients and consistency, and my life focus is getting ready to possibly be moving in the summer. So those are things that are going to move the needle forward for me. These are maybe things that wouldn't otherwise be on my to-do list. And so as best you can, see how you can narrow down into one simple focus for your wellness, your business, and your personal life. Great. Now, of course, the third thing I want to talk with you about is how you break that down even further into 3 more areas to give you even greater focus through the season. So, of course, the season has 3 months. So January, February, March is what we're talking about here. Now, I know there's only a few days left in January, and so you're going to have to keep your focus areas pretty simple in that space if you want to be achieving those in just a handful of days. So what this is going to look like is in those bottom 3 squares of your page. Again, just focus on one area at a time. Looking at your self goal, for example, how can you break that down so that you're accomplishing a little bit of it in each of the 3 months, January, February, March? So my example, let's see, what have I put? Since I wanted body health, I wanted January to be about rest and stretching. I wanted February to be about getting out there and doing some snow sports. And March, I think I'm going to start running again, see how the snow is doing out there. Anyway, so those were my 3 areas for January, February, March. And you repeat for your business and life. A few tips on this one is sometimes it's going to be 3 steps, like January I'll do A, February B, March C. Sometimes it's just 3 separate, not related focus areas that you're going to put down. Sometimes it's going to be just continuing on as you've been doing. So I actually encourage that in some of your slots. And then sometimes it's going to be nothing because you may have enough on your plate with across the board, and so it's healthy for you just to leave some of those blank. And the first time you do this, you might be overly ambitious. You're just getting a feel for it. But next season, you'll have this as a tool to look back to so that you can refine and create an even more helpful priority paper in the coming seasons. Let's see if I've covered everything. I guess the most final and most important point to share is that now that you have all of your priorities mapped out on your paper, the most important thing is to look at that and see how it feels to you. Because like I said at the beginning, time management is all about energy management too. So if you're looking at your priorities and feeling really drained, not energized, then there's some tweaking to be done, whether that's removing activities, replacing them with more energizing activities that light you up, activities that inch you closer to your longer term goals. So this is a really important piece that I urge you not to avoid, because I want you to, that's the whole point of prioritizing for yourself, is to choose to focus on those activities that are aligned to who you are and that do light you up. So there's other pro tips I could share, which I won't get into because I see this live is close to 15 minutes here. So just to recap, today we talked about why the number 3 is so powerful. I shared the 3 focus areas that I like to use to keep my priorities in my mind. We talked about the 3 questions that you can ask yourself to get some insight towards your priorities. And lastly, we mapped it out over those 3 months of the season. So hopefully you feel like your priorities are manageable and energizing to you, and whether you transfer them directly into your calendar or planner, or whether you simply look at this 3 times in the next season. So at the end of January, end of February, end of March, just to see where you're at and to see what might need tweaking. Then you're on your way to at least now having an awareness of what your priorities are, and hopefully feeling some motivation to work towards what these priorities are. So that's what I had to share. If you have any further questions about what I've said today, or even deeper or other questions about prioritizing, please let me know and I can do future lives on that. If you would love some more personalized support, that's what I'm here for. You can email me, or we could set up a chat and I could really walk you through your own prioritizing. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next Tuesday. Bye.